Hi, I'm Heather McLean, and this is Heather's Health Talk. And today, George and I drove all the way over to Westmoreland, New Hampshire, which is almost into Vermont.
Almost.
Right? Almost towards Brattleboro, to meet Reverend Sandra Harrick.
Yes.
And today, in the spirit of 2012, the closing of 2012 and the entering into the year 2013, we are surrounded by Mayan prophecies. We're only 3 days away from supposedly the end of the world. Okay, so this is probably going to air after the end of the world, so if it comes on, then you'll know we made it.
If it doesn't, what a waste.
Then this will be a good chat session before the end of the world, okay? All right, so today, in the spirit of that, we are going to be talking soul talk. I think that's our general goal.
Absolutely.
And sort of the evolution of the soul and sort of where we're going in the next year. At the end of this year, sort of what's coming. And Sandra does a lot of psychic work, and she also lives on a wonderful farm, and we are going to probably catch some pictures of that farm after we're done with our talk. And I had a dream about her horse.
Yes, Silver.
Before I knew that you even owned a horse.
Yes.
I had a dream about a horse that had cancer.
Yes.
And I talked to you on the phone, and then we talked about horses, and I said, geez, I just dreamt about a horse with cancer. And you said, oh, well, my horse has a melanoma, right?
Yes.
And I just went, oh my God. Anyway, so that was our connection. We have dream connection.
Yes.
And so I have to go see the horse.
Yes.
And after we chat.
Okay.
But okay, so Sandra, I'm going to open up with you today. Maybe just tell us how you got into this work, maybe how you grew into this work. Maybe as a child that you already knew that you had some of these abilities to see beyond what our eyes can see. And where that's taken you. We can start with that introduction.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to welcome you all to Unicorn Fields, and to know that this is one of those mystical places where the spirit of heart and soul really does exist. So thank you for finding us, and thank you for bringing your crew. Hello, George. And also, happy holidays to everybody. That it is a really incredible time to be with spirit, so welcome.
Thank you.
So my story started literally when I was very young, in that place of, I will say this forever and a day, I was brought into Catholicism as a child, and it is my foundation. It is my foundation, which is a really strong foundation in that there are saints, there are angels, there are rituals, there is practice, there is ceremony, there is wonderment. And it's an amazing experience as a child to go into this incredible Gothic place and feel that I belong to the mystical qualities of it and the mystery of what a priest was doing. And from the very beginning, I had a sense of belonging to something that the church was talking about, not the rules that the church was insisting us be about. So that's where my spiritual path really started. And so I will always say that my bones are Catholic and my soul is spiritual. And my spirit is soulful. So it's beautiful to know I have a foundation. It's also beautiful to know that it gave me a great place to come as a wandering human when I had dreams or had visions. We had all sorts of phenomena in our house. So we had people that came in, it was like you two, I come from a family of 9.
Okay.
We were all very psychic, and we had apparitions in the house. I would be woken up in the middle of the night with visitations. And of course, back in the 50s, that was considered the boogeyman.
Right.
So it wasn't angels and leprechauns and all that. We didn't have that type of background. So I lived on the edge of wonderment and fear.
Okay.
And so my journey with spirituality literally was to go into the wonderment with as much fearlessness as I possibly could, even though at times it's pretty scary.
Okay, so you were seeing spirits and feeling psychic phenomena from a young age.
Yes.
And then you somehow worked this into something that you do to help other people?
Absolutely. I'm so proud to say that I'm part of the pioneering of the New Age with what it means to be New Age and psycho-spiritual. So I'm just at that crest of not wearing a turban and a jewel in my forehead, but in that awareness movement of what does it mean to be, who are you, why are you, what are our feelings? Why am I here? And so that really started in the 70s, where psychoanalysis was turning more into something that was self-help, self-exploratory, going to groups. And I was a part of the group called EST and Holiday Magic, and really got involved with the educational aspect of how does one become more aware of your intuition. And so that was a huge formula to allow me to explore, oh my God, I can find things when I close my eyes, go in and journey, and then bring them forth and talk to people, and they go, how'd you know that? You're talking about me. My whole service is about supporting people to discover their soul, to discover who they are, and why you're in the way of who you are.
Right.
Remove that, assist that, support it, and manifest your life.
Okay, so there's the soul.
There's the soul.
And I know a lot of people think about New Age, and it's got sort of a bad rap if you're in a organized religion, that it's not considered a good thing. But
I apologize for the phone. You may hear that in the background.
That's all right. I think we'll
okay.
With it.
Okay.
What I was going to say was that we have this whole notion of each religion seem to believe that there is a soul. Okay, so maybe there's this element of salvation in the soul, but I don't even want to really go into which religion is right and wrong. I don't think you do either. It's like we just want to concentrate on the fact that we can't see our souls. Some people don't believe that they have one. But explain to me and maybe the people who are listening what your vision of the soul is.
Okay. Interestingly enough, my business is called Soul Awakenings.
Okay.
And that came to me when I was really looking for how do I not just describe myself, but how do I connect to what it is people are looking for within themselves to feel like they belong, that they are connected. There are so many people that come to me and say they feel they have no place to be, or they're lost, or they don't feel like they belong here, or they can't find their tribe, their people, or like kind. That brings the goosebumps.
Yeah.
And so for me, way back in, again, the mid-70s, I was reading Alice Bailey, who I recommend everybody, and to know that the way she spoke to me. And the way it spoke to me was I read it, and it was, I knew what I was reading. It wasn't like, oh, that's interesting. It was like, that's it. So my psyche was already in agreement with something that I was reading that I needed to remember. So for me, the soul is literally our story, our history. It holds all of our past lives. It holds the sense of our journey. It holds the reason that we would incarnate, resurrect, go through, discover, broaden. The spirit for me is the quickening of the flame that connects us to each of our next lives. So my soul goes through all of my lives, but the spirit is the flame that ignites me with my personality for this life. So I may be a man, I may be a woman, some people believe that they could be animals. If you go to Native American consciousness, you know, we all go through the awareness of being in many different forms in order to experience what it means to be alive. And so for me, then the spirit allows me to transmit my soul and bring that electrical current to the soul that makes me a human. That makes me a part of this planet. That gives me an awareness on how to figure out what is the soul needing to do on this timeline, in this collectiveness. Why am I born for now?
So each person kind of comes in with their own unique imprint.
Yes.
Which seems to direct their life in certain directions and attract them to certain people, certain situations, depending on almost their life force and kind of what's going on in there. So I always like to think that our thoughts are very much more important than people realize, the impact of our thoughts. Like if we have a soul and that sort of has this density to it, almost like this
Mhm.
life force, then
Mhm.
our thoughts also would have that.
Well, seeing is believing, and think and create, and there's the magic of knowing that you can always change your thought. What makes us believe? What makes us become obsessive? What makes us attract something and go, that's what I want, or that's what I don't want? And that to me is my simplest form of saying where my story began, actually, would be when I saw a horse. As a child, it was something I already knew I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And it was outside the family, it wasn't in the backyard. I had to be traveling, I had to be in a car, I had to be going down the road, and I saw that, and I ignited. And I'm little. So why would I be already acquainted with such an incredible emotion? And I feel it's one of those, see, because the hair's standing up, folks.
There are goosebumps there.
Goosebumps on my goosebumps. that quickening that we talk about, the awakening that we talk about, and to think that it is the key to the rest of my life, that I see it happening, I don't know why yet, but it becomes explained to me further on and further on and further on. So there's that attraction, and we all have it.
Mm-hmm.
My soul understood something, my spirit amped up my personal reaction, and my humanness registered everything that the soul says, there it is. The spirit goes, oh my God, and my physical body reacts.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mind starts to have, this is what I want. And then it's the same for the negativity. When you see somebody, oh my God, I don't like that, I don't want that, I don't need that, and I repel from it. And then what do we do with our minds, our thoughts, from our personal experiences, from conception, before, during, and after?
Okay, so there's this element of positive and negative. So when people are sort of trying to better their soul journey, say for 2013, if we make it through the Mayan change, it's important to recognize what we're attracted to, maybe that's healthy for us even.
Both sides of the coin are absolutely mandatory, and mandatory because it's just time. And you know, for me, the Mayan calendar, when people asked me a couple of years ago what I felt about it, it was very simple. I said, well, if it's true, get right with God or your life and live the best life you can. If it's true but in another way than we know, be open to what has already happened 100,000 times throughout our world's consciousness, where civilizations are created, they live their existence, and then they transcend into something else, and the next civilization comes along. And we are at that time, and we all know it, we feel it. Something desires to change.
Right.
Something desires to transcend. We're yearning for some peace inside with all this chaos. And so for me, it is that opportunity of be aware that we are here, and it's no different than a season that changes. The sun will make the light different on a certain day. Mm-hmm. So why not have the Mayan calendar make an episode of humanity different? Because that is exactly how it's charted. So it's big, it's vast. Is it the end? It's the end of something, mm-hmm. But at the end of everything, there's a beginning. So I feel the soul is starting to come in and go, let's really work it.
Right. So this shift that's coming up in 2012.
In a few days.
Yeah, in a few days. And we're on this interesting time path mm-hmm. in our society as well, where mm-hmm. we're on this fiscal cliff. We have all of these countries almost going bankrupt. You know, everybody needs to find a job. But at some point, is it really, sometimes I feel like all we're thinking about is ourselves. We're not really, because people need jobs, it's almost like they don't care about the earth anymore. And
It's a big thing that you're saying, because it's right at that place where if you can't find jobs, you got to start caring about the earth, because you got to have a garden in order to have something, and you have to start being in a community so that you can start belonging, and that we need to rely on each other and know that something comes back to simplicity. And I don't have all the answers for that. That's not necessarily where my forte goes with, as far as how do I help somebody find a job. But I support somebody. Yeah, I really support somebody in finding who you are, so that however you need to make what is new for you or next for you,
absolutely,
to be allowed to unfold. Whatever your soul is going through, how do you dig in deeper rather than just panic and fear?
I think that's the key, because as a society, it's been focused on these things to make our society better. But I don't think that's necessarily the right way to focus. I think what you're saying is we have to focus on our own individual path.
Well, not just for me, not just the individual path, but the human path. What are we doing as a human collective? How are we going to restructure our consciousness of our community, our soul, our spirit, and how do we want to, I would say, emit positive thoughts and protect each other again, rather than be isolated and so self-important.
Okay, so there's this idea right now of everything that's going on in our society, so it's important that we think more community, staying within our communities, like you're saying, growing our own food or getting in contact with things within our local societal makeup, our communities, that sort of brings us closer together, and in the same time you are kind of helping the earth, and then doing your own private soul development at the same time.
I think it's about becoming sacred.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you. And to know that everything is sacred.
Yes.
We're sacred, our community is sacred, our neighbors are sacred, the land is sacred, and to come back to that sacred space of knowing we are precious. And that when I work with people, when I do sessions with people, when people come to me, it is the sacred that they are yearning for. To, if they aren't self-important because they can identify themselves with a job or an identity that is reflected through how much they make or what they do, there is that place of who am I? What is sacred in me? How can I sit still and change my vibration, expand my vibration, to allow the sacredness inside me. When I go in, when I do a reading with someone, it's amazing because I really dedicate the energy to sacred space. And it's not frou-frou, it's not something, we were talking before about science and medicine and spirituality now, really communing, where scientists are no longer saying we can't prove it, so it's not real.
Right.
They are now proving scientifically that we are more than just flesh and bone, that we are energy. They are now proving that, yes, way back in the 50s, when Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain was a book written about the vibration of plants, that they have a life force. What are our auras? What is our, if I come and sit next to you, what is the energy between us? What is the story that's happening between us? What is the energy that's going out right now to everybody that they see unconsciously or spiritually or in their soul that will make them yearn, and not just listen to us, but listen to themselves as they think about what we're saying. That all of a sudden we connect on another level. That whatever is coming, we can't stop. We've never been able to stop the future. And yet there are visionaries that see it coming. There are prophets who understand what to do with it. And there are us who get dream time, or we get inspired, or all of a sudden we have a thought, and our whole life's course is in another direction. And right now, because we are at that, we're not getting there, we're there, where change is here for all of us. And what do we do with it? Only yearn for the past? Or hope the future, does disappear because we don't know how to get there? Or be pioneers for the next? And going in, finding our soul, dealing with our spirit, merging our consciousness, being more responsible to who am I when I walk down the street? What vibration do I put out? Do I cringe and go in and hate? God bless Sandy Hook. God bless the children down there, because they are a lightning bolt for what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What do we have to do? It is, why are we doing what we do? And who are we because of this moment? What do we do with it?
I think you're right. I think, we had also talked before the camera went on about this lack of sacredness in our current society, which appears to be causing sort of a breakdown of many things: communication, families, and gaining back this sacredness and turning our thoughts from always being so material to being more spiritual is also something that I've read is sort of prophesized with this with the Mayan calendar. So it's not necessarily like the end of the world, like you said, but it's a change in perception.
It's transition.
Yeah.
The Bible has it as revelations. The Mayans have it as their calendar.
Yeah.
The Native Americans are willing to open up the kivas now and let the magic and the mystery of the kivas out. So there's some breath from Mother Earth that, as you just sighed, wants to sigh, has to sigh,
yeah.
has to take another life-changing direction. And we're here. It's ours. And why not make the best of it?
I believe that. I also think, I don't know if this is negative or not, but sometimes I feel like the human race needs like a 2x4 over the head. And that may come in some
Well, we're certainly
form
getting it.
well, and it may get worse.
Yes.
Like some form of harsh change that occurs that unfortunately causes suffering. For us to wake up.
It's interesting. I don't believe in doomsday because anybody who has a tsunami hit their village is doomsday that day.
That's true.
Anybody who has a volcano erupt and, a few years ago when St. Helena went, that's doomsday.
Yeah.
Sandy Hook is doomsday. If we're frozen because of an ice storm and, a hurricane, Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Sandy, for the people that it affects, it's doomsday.
Right.
So what does doomsday mean? It's the end for everybody, and we live in a society where it's like, for the 24 hours that it's happened, and we see it, it's like, oh my God, and then it's like, oh gee, I do it. Okay, and we leave that, but the people it affected, the people it affected are still with the reality that their life is forever different and are in need of external consciousness to be conscious of their need. And we have to decide, well, do we have 5 minutes to do that? Do we say a prayer? Do we send a light? Do we get in our cars and go down? Do we what do we do? Or do we go, turn the channel, we can't see it. So every day we're affected by something that is brought to us, and it's magnificent. And I believe that why spirituality, and I'm going to shake my finger at y'all here, that for me, New Age has really been overdone with, I want it, I should have it, and I think it, and I'm entitled to it, so I'm going to be spiritual, and it's going to come to me, and I figured it out, and it's mine, oh my God, I have everything I want. And it was just because I did the right thing at the right time, and I got it right. No, you didn't. And the people that look and go, well, I did what you didn't, I didn't get it, so what's wrong? Well, there's nothing wrong, except the New Age is not about just how to get what you want.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, so it's now what do we do with the New Age? So when people come to me and have a session, it's not about how do you get what you want, it's how do you become who you are.
Yeah.
How do you lighten your light, lighten your load? How do you take that therapeutic energy that all the wounds of your existence are just overwhelmed with and touch them and heal them, whether it's a word or a thought or a consciousness or a tender moment of attention.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is where our spirits get to be broadened and saved from our own insanity.
Yeah.
How come I don't have what I have?
Right.
The way I want it.
I couldn't agree with you more that there's a little bit of that, what's in, me thing, when they think, oh, all I have to do is think positive, think of the secret, it's going to happen for me. And there is some truth to that, and there's some beauty to
Absolutely.
that.
Positive thought goes a trillion pounds faster than, I'm not thinking, but negative thought goes as equally.
Yeah.
So this is about, but what are you doing with your life, with spirituality? Is it only to gain?
Right.
Or is it to vibrate on another level?
Yeah.
And to really bring the healing? And I say this in that place of, we are learning that if we get what we want, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah.
Who are we with it?
I have to agree with you on that. I like your thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go that direction too.
Yeah.
I've been in the business a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I've acquired some wisdom about it and not just yearning. And yet I constantly yearn, and here comes Sammy, and I constantly am available to not just teach, but to support people in how to become wise for themselves.
Okay. And now we've been kind of given the signal to sort of wrap things up.
Yep.
So what I'd like to do is to maybe pull together some parting thoughts for the transition between 2012 and 2013, and we'll give a little bit of contact information for people who might actually want to get a hold of you.
Okay, I do
And
sessions.
Ask
I have a
your
private
questions.
practice.
Yeah, and if they have questions for you, an email.
Absolutely.
Which is easy. So
Okay.
in wrapping up our thoughts, we are thinking about the change and the shift in our human soul and also the actual society and the world, what's going on between the significance of this Mayan calendar, revelations, all of that has to do with the growth of our souls and a shift and a transition perhaps in what we find important, moving from materialism to more sacred practices and consciousness.
Yes, absolutely.
And that means holding our lives, our earth, and other people's lives as sacred. And actually that's kind of big because we don't really do that in many ways. And I'm not saying for everyone, because of course there are many people who do that. But as a society, there's been so much taken away in our sacredness of this.
And it's trying to come back.
There you go. And that's
And that is what this shift is about.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
how do the great wise teachers that have been dedicating their lives in ancient societies that have gone off and been completely devoted to connecting with the hierarchies of intelligence, the spirits that surround us, the wisdom that has created our universe. And I say this in the deepest respect, whatever the God force is for any and all of us, to allow that God force to vibrate within us without damning the other's interpretation. And, so that whatever this is, we can align with not just peace of humanity, but with dignity.
It's accepting, all these religions have to learn to accept each other.
To communicate, to dialogue, and to know that it's not, I'm getting it right or wrong, I'm being with my journey.
Right.
And I think there's that place inside where right now the time is to again know that there's more inside of me that I need to understand, rather than to just look out and judge everybody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I often see that people complain about their partners or they're this or they're that, and I often say, you know what? Take them out of the picture and start looking in the mirror.
Absolutely.
And looking inside yourself first.
Right.
So it's that, and we're not talking about being selfish in a sense that we're disconnecting from other people, but in connecting with yourself, you're actually better able to connect with other people.
I'm going to use myself as an example, and it'll be one of those wonderful moments in my marriage where I really sat down with my husband, because we were having one of those moments that all relationships have, who are you and what are you going to do to make me not have to feel upset, rather than who are you, how are you, and what am I doing with you, and what do I do in being with you. And I realized in my conversation to him that I had to become more responsible for, if there's something in my life I want or do not want, he's not obligated to give that to me. I am.
There you go.
And that if there is something in my life I no longer want to have, I have to hold the boundary of it and keep my promise to me, not have him do it or not do it.
Right.
And it gives him more space to even grow, and for me to even see that I'm not judging him. I'm holding me accountable.
Absolutely.
For what I'm involved in.
It goes a long way, baby.
It's a very different shift.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely.
Okay, down to business.
Okay, so if you want to get a hold of Sandra, I guess what we can do is...
I'll just say it.
Okay, the website?
Yep. My website is Soul Awakenings, SOULWAKENINGS.org. And my email is thehealingbox@yahoo.com or sandraharrick@me.com. And I work on Skype, I work on the phone, I work in whatever it is that you need in order for you to be who you are. And welcome. And I look forward to connecting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is going to have to be continued in another
I am absolutely
episode.
available.
I'm almost thinking it's
a
like
series.
Heather's Health Talk is turning into kind of Heather's holistic, soul talk,
That's
so
spectacular.
anyways,
Thank you for doing this and bringing me to them and them to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
There's exactly the shift.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing it.
2012, 2013, here we come.
Happy holidays, and I'll see you on the other side of 2012.
I'd go on that. I don't think I even brought that into our conversation, so that's
Shut that off. Get out of that.
Are we ready
Get
for
out
my...
of this.
you look fabulous.
I love the look.
Faces are so...
Yeah, they're the best.
We had Joey, and his companion is captivated here for 6 years now, and we just got these two, Titus and Ben, this year, this spring. We harvest the wool, and we have to save it, and Bobby has made a few things out of it, but we don't have it, we don't use it in production.